The Canon R6 Mark II, the best camera for everybody. Maybe.
But Heath, have you thought about the S5 Mark II?
Do you know what? I have thought about it, Sam, and you've thrown a spanner in the works.
I'm sure you have. I know you have, because we've been chatting about it, and you should get one, because they're amazing. Anamorphic mode on this. Do you get that on the Canon?
Yeah, thanks, Sam. I've gone down a right old rabbit hole with this one, haven't I? Because the S5 Mark II colours are friggin' awesome for videos. What I'll do though is get back into this video, and at the end of it, I'll tell you what I've decided to do and what might be right for you. Let's get back into it. Hi everyone, hope you're all Tickety-Boo. Now, I've had it for over a month now and I've got a good lot of use out of this little beauty. And I thought, why not share my initial thoughts with you? Because I believe it is almost the perfect camera. Now, you all know by now I'm a big fan of Canon. I'm a huge fan of the new R6 as well. As I said earlier on, I believe it's a perfect camera for most people. There are a few things in there that still annoy me, as you expect from Canon, isn't there? I mean, an example would be the white balance, how you set the custom white balance. You have to go into photo mode, take a picture, and then come back into video mode. What's all that about? It's a real pain, isn't it? Plus, under here you can see that they've got the micro HDMI ports. I mean, there's loads of room in there to put a full-size one in, so I don't know why they're doing that. But that said, you have a camera that is definitely Tickety-Boo for photos and videos. So why did I upgrade from the original R6? Firstly, the previous ones had a little bit of limitations on it. And no, not the overheating, that never bothered me at all. It was mainly for me personally, the colour of the video in the previous one. Even with exactly the same settings as my R3 and C-Log 3, yeah, there was this orange tinge to it, and it made colour grading a bit of a pain when you're using two cameras, which I do a lot. Plus, the crop factor, which it does not have the new one, so it's a win-win for me. I'm glad that the build is the same as the Canon bodies. They always feel really good in your hand, don't they? Another extra on here is this dedicated photo and video switch, which is just like my R3. Plus, it's got a lock on there, and the power switch has been moved, which is a bit weird. As you'd expect from Canon, the touchscreen is awesome. It's got nice colours on there and it really is responsive. There's a few new bits in the menu. This thing called focus breathing, which is not available to all the lenses at the moment. Yet there is a firmware update for a few of them, and there'll be a link down below if you're interested in there. Basically, focus breathing is really important when you're videoing, when you want to move from one subject to the other, okay? What happens is it contracts and expands when you move in that full focus and things like that. So check this out. Without the focus breathing going on, between here on R2-D2 and BB-8, it looks like this. Zooming in and out, doesn't it? You can see that, I'm sure. Now, let's put the focus breathing on. That's brilliant, isn't it? There was no movement I could see anyway. That's pretty cool. So let's get into that one that you're probably all asking, which is the overheating. Like I said, I had no issues with my R6. I know it would overheat, but I've done some tests with this in 4K at 25 frames per second. That's 24 frames for you lot outside of the UK. And I got 2 hours, 10 minutes out of it before the battery died. So there's no issues there whatsoever. And in 4K 50 frames per second, yeah, or 60 elsewhere, I got 43 minutes, which is what Canon are actually advertising. But hell, that's surely long enough, isn't it? So the 4K footage itself is exactly the same as the R3, okay? What it is the oversampled stuff from the 6K sensor. And no, although they've bumped it up to 24 megapixels, this sensor, it is not the stack sensor like my R3. It has C-Log 3, which is great, and all the different modes outside of log, you know, the different settings and things like that, which I don't use myself. Like phones and things like that, it also has a 5-second pre-record on there, which you can set up in the settings, and it can go up to 180 FPS in 1080p, and approximately 12 stops of dynamic range. But I ain't no technical geek in that. If you want that sort of stuff, go and watch Gerald Undone's video, because he talks about it and he actually knows what he's talking about when it comes to that. Like the R6 before, there are zebras in it, but there's a nice little touch. Canon have added false colours on here as well. Thank you, Canon. The autofocus. Well, What more do I have to say really? There has been some improvements on it. You know the Canon stuff's really, really good, but it can automatically identify now humans, animals including dogs, cats, birds, horses, cars, racing cars, motorbikes, planes, trains and automobiles. And there are plenty of styles for shooting. You've got they're on there that you'd expect anyway, so landscape, portrait, neutral, auto, plus there's some more in there in the JPEGs. But to be honest with you, I don't use those because I prefer to shoot in RAW. Now, this is where they've really stepped it up. There's a range of drive modes in there with continuous shooting up to an unbelievable 40 frames per second. Listen to what that sounds like. Now I'm going to do some tests on that, but 40 frames per second is actually more than the R3. Or have I got that wrong? Anyway, it's got 12 frames per second on the old mechanical shutter as well. There you go. What do you think? Let me know down in the comments. If you've got any questions or tests you'd like me to do with this, then drop them in there as well, and I'll get back to you, or I may even make a video on it. Plus, I'm going to be looking at settings of how best to set up the Canon R6, as I've done with the R3, and we'll do a few videos on those as well. So if you're interested, make sure to hit the old subscribe. I hope you found this one useful. If you have, give us the old thumbs up. Stay safe out there. Have fun making stuff. Keep smiling. See ya. Now, this might surprise you, and I'm sorry I'm losing my voice after doing this video, but at the end of the day, I've gone out and researched it and found out how much I'd get for all my Canon gear. That's the R3, which I'm filming on now, the new R6 Mark II, all my lenses, and basically I could swap that all out, get 2 Lumix S5s, loads of different lenses, and I'd end up with more kit. But I have decided to stick with the Canon, and the reason being because I've spoke to Sam about it and Gerald Undone, and they say that because I take photos more than videos, and that's my primary use of my cameras, it's best to stick with the cameras because the autofocus on there is absolutely amazing. When they got on the R3, there's 4,000 focal points, and on the R6 is well over 1,000, and with the S5 Mark II it only has 759. That's not a big issue though, because if you're using it for video, the colours on that are awesome. So if your primary goal is photos with a bit of video, like me, then go for the Canon. If it's in the middle, photos and video, then either of them will be absolutely awesome. Or if it's video mainly, you'll probably want to go for the Lumix S5 Mark II. And I'm not sponsored by them, and I haven't had one to test, but looking at everything out there, that's the thing to do for you. Anyway, stay safe out there. See ya.